After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, and f5, we're playing the Gothic Gambit. So in this video we're going to go through one of the most popular moves and the best move actually by white. So after pawn takes in f5, we go knight f6, and now here d4. This is the best reply, the most aggressive reply by white. So here we take the pawn, and after knight takes back, the crucial move to remember is bishop to b4. Thematic move, you want to take this knight potentially and double up and isolate the pawn on the c file. We're going to go through two replies, one of them being bishop to g5 or knight to c6. Let's look at the knight c6 straight away. Okay, to start with. Okay, take with the b pawn, you want to play d5 eventually, you've got a good center. And now two main moves, because the white player knows that we want to play bishop takes and then isolate these two pawns and carry on the game with potentially a better pawn structure for sure. The two moves could be bishop to d2 or queen to d4, the most aggressive because it attacks the bishop. Okay, well, queen to d4 is met with queen e7 check. We're also defending the bishop, and after bishop blocks, ready to castle potentially d5. So here black is already much better. a3 attacking the bishop. How do we respond to this? See, a move like bishop to g5 here is met with just castle. You just castle play normally, and we're not gonna look at this now, but we're gonna keep pressure on e2 forever. So white can't really go on in castle because then you take the knight in c3 and the bishop is undefended. So the white player will have to give us the bishop pair. We can just take back with the rook and carry on with the game. Eventually take bishop taking f5, also rook to e8. It's so much better for black. So we're gonna look at this move here. After d5, the immediate attack on the knight. Okay, bishop to c5 attacks the queen. The queen has to move. Queen d3 is not recommendable because you have an idea of playing a5 and then bishop a6. So after queen d1, castle, bishop to g5, normal moves. Rook to b8, attacking this pawn in b2. This is a very weak pawn. A move like knight a4 is not a problem, because then the knight will be going away from the attack of the square e4, which allows you this tactic, bishop f2 check, and you win that pawn. The king can't move anymore. If king takes, then you got the knight check, and you're taking this bishop. You're completely winning. So in this position, what happens after b4? This type of move here, bishop to d6. This pawn structure, remember, always going to look like a shelter for the bishop, and you always want to play a move like queen d6 and go for checkmate. So let's say, for instance, castle, queen e5. How to respond to a move like f4? Okay, well, we take a free knight. This is all computer lines, so you have to know how to respond to this. Queen to c3, and after rook f3, now the queen is trapped. You can't really go to b2 because of rook b3. So the queen is trapped. You have to play this move, bishop check. Give the piece back. Because now you're planning to play bishop e3 and then d4, supporting everything, you're winning. So our opponent will have to take a bishop, but then queen takes e5 back. King moves, and now you recapture the pawn in f5, you're completely winning. Solidifying, see, you're going to attack here as well. You want to trade everything, you're up material, solidify the advantage if white plays rook c1, knight e4. Position evaluated like, I don't know, -4 as far as I remember at this point. And in this crazy line after this check, there's no escape after king h1, as mentioned. This was the move, right? Bishop e3, and if white plays rook to b1, for instance, trying to go here, then in this case, queen d4 will do the job. But you also have ideas like d4. Although queen d4 is definitely better. So let's take it from the start, and let's understand that better. f5 takes, knight f6 to push e4. White plays the best moves, d4. Take, bishop b4. We're looking at knight takes and knight immediately, b takes, and now instead of queen d4, let's look at bishop d2, preserving the integrity of the pawn structure. Castle, and after bishop e2, d5. You see how everything is so thematic, everything comes back. Always the same moves. Okay, bishop takes in f5. And now a3. How to respond to this? Do we take? Of course not. You have absolutely no reason to do so. Bishop to d6. And after bishop to g5, pinning our knight, rook to b8. Everything always looks the same. Let's look at this idea that we haven't seen. This type of idea, rook to b1. When our opponent has the rook in b1 and a queen d1 like this, the queen in the initial position, and you play this type of Vienna game, or Gothic game, or King's Gambit game, you know, when you give up the f-pawn, you have this typical idea of playing queen e8, queen g6, and then go for it here, because there's a knight in c3, and it's impossible to defend a pawn in c2 without making much sense. So let's say queen e8 comes now. Let's make an example. Rook e1, normal move. Okay, queen g6. You're attacking the bishop. You also double attack here, and you've got you're gonna make a fork. Bishop attacking queen rook. You're completely winning. So even if white defends the bishop with h4, you go for c2. You're winning. If instead of rook t1, white takes our knight first. Okay, rook takes back. Bishop to d3. How do we deal with this? Okay, queen to e5, threatening mate. f4. Okay, check. King moves. We take this. When the queen takes, and now you can go here. You're up a pawn. And also this pawn is isolated. You're heading to a completely winning endgame. Which leads us to go back to the beginning and look at something different this time. So we're doing the 3 knights and then f5. Take, knight f6, d4. Take, bishop b4. What happens when our opponent just plays bishop to g5 now? So instead of swapping, he keeps developing. Okay, castle. 3 ideas we're going to mainly look at. They're all bad, actually. So let's start. For instance, queen to d2 to preserve the integrity of this knight doesn't make sense, because check with queen e8. Whatever white does, let's say bishop e2, knight d2. Double attack here. Also an attack on this knight. Double attack on the knight as well. So it's hopeless. So in this position, if instead of queen d2, white takes our knight now. Okay, take back. And when after development, check. Queen blocks. Okay, takes. And now knight e4 once again. Double attack on this c3 square. We're going to win material unless white plays bishop to d2. But then we take this, king takes back, rook takes here. We're attacking this weak pawn. And it's a better endgame for black. So let's say white plays, I don't know, f3 to stop our infiltration of the rook on the second rank. d5, normal moves. Rook to d1, allowing some sort of manual castling, especially after a3. It's obviously wrong because d4, and if a3, you take the knight with check. So if instead of rook d1, our opponent plays a3, immediately attacking our bishop. Bishop to d6. We never have to worry about the knight going anywhere. So now rook to d1, allowing king c1 and normal castling. Too late. Check. Bishop, then king has to go back. Rook e5 is the best move. The idea is to put more pressure on that bishop. Okay, king f2 with the idea of maybe playing rook e1 or something like that, or simply just move the bishop away. Bishop check again. King g3. Not possible because of rook g5 check. The king has got nowhere to go except one square, which is h4. But now we can take the pawn in g2. Position evaluated -9. Because you're threatening checkmates. So our opponent will have to give up a lot of material to stay alive. So, and if, let's say, the king had gone to f1, then you still have the advantage. Rook to b8, trying to go to second rank. b4, a5, b5 to stop us from happening. Now d4 misplaces the knight, and when the knight is misplaced, we're going to be taking in b5. Game over very soon. Let's see it one more time from the start. See the last line we're going to look at before we close this video. f5, pawn takes, knight f6, d4 immediately. Take, bishop b4. Okay, we're looking at bishop g5. And now, as mentioned, castle. A move we haven't seen is bishop to c4 check. Okay, this is obviously met with d5. And here, there are two pieces attacking it, although one of them is pinned. But there's two pieces defending it, although one of them is pinned. So what if our opponent takes our knight? Okay, take with the rook, so that our queen is still defending d5. The knight in c3 is still pinned, we don't have to worry. And now two options, and then we close this video. One of them is bishop to b5, putting double attack on this knight in c6, or knight takes straight away. Let's look at knight takes straight away first. You take back, there's still an attack on the bishop. The bishop has to move back. Whatever he moves, you can play bishop takes f5, and after castle, bishop goes back to d7. We will complete this game with the bishop pair. This is white having played the top engine moves and surviving. How to continue this game? Knight e2 preserves the integrity of the pawn structure. Rook to h6. And now c3 attacking the bishop loses immediately to queen h4. There is no coming back here. But either way, whatever white had done, you will always be able to play bishop d6, queen h4, and this bishop here attacking all of these lines, diagonals, allow you to sacrifice. It's a completely winning endgame for black. And in this position, instead of knight takes, what happens after bishop to b5, doubling the attack on the knight in c6. Okay, here, this is actually better for black, because you take the knight, queen takes back, c5, the queen has to move. Let's say queen e3 is the best move according to the engine. Now here you can play d4, but you might wonder, why didn't the queen go anywhere else? Well, because either way, you're going to play bishop f5, then you have rook attacking the queen, pinning it. You also have the bishop attacking the pawn in c2. So the queen comes up, the engine comes up with queen e3 is best move. a6 is the best by black. If bishop retreats, then you can trap it, as we all know. Bishop e2 going far away from that problem. Okay, d4. Best move by white is castle. And now also we can't take anything without this move happening. So bishop takes here first is important. And now we're threatening to win a piece. Queen to g3. But there was nothing else to do. King h8 is the best move. And after bishop to d3, because what else are you going to do? You want to move the knight? Where? Let's say knight a4. Queen e8 makes a fork to these two. But even then, even if the knight had stayed there, and white played bishop to d3, you can take the knight. And after the bishop takes you in f5, there's a discovered attack on the queen. But this is met with queen to g8. And what black is completely winning, because you're threatening to go to a2 and win. You're also threatening this move eventually. You're also threatening this bishop.